so you switched from two rockers now back to the slowest song that you had up until that time.
Well, I looked in a book called The Musician's Handbook, and I did the same thing with Among My Souvenirs. And I made a list of every standard I thought could be a great rock and roll song. And I went out and I bought the sheet music to all of them. Not the records that anybody else did. I wasn't interested in that. I just wanted to hear whether it would make a good rock and roll song with a triplet beat and whether I sang it well. Because some songs like I think are the greatest, like this Michael Bolton, he does this song called Back on My Feet Again. And I wanted to use it as an opening song. And I said, wow, I can't wait to do this. I've changed some of the lyrics and I made it very personal. And I didn't like the way I sang it, so I didn't do it. So that's what I did. I would go through the books. I did that with that other song of Mills Brothers, If I Didn't Care.
Oh, Ink Spots.
The Ink Spots.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was the follow-up.
Right. I went through the book, and I just made a list of those songs, and that's how I chose those. And my father was very instrumental, and he said Among My Souvenirs without my even looking at the book. And My Happiness, when I was a little girl, John and Sandra Steele had My Happiness. I was about 8 years old, and that was my favorite song. And I met them once in Las Vegas. They came backstage and they thanked me so much. You know, they said thanks for all the royalties and all that. It was really nice.
I'll bet, because you had what is now the standard of that song, and it's kind of interesting that was the first song that Elvis ever walked into a studio and recorded too.
Isn't that amazing?
You may have heard his version that just came out a few months ago.
But I'm going to get it, unless you put it on the tape. I'm going to send you a record, Jerry, that I just cut up in Muscle Shoals about 1.5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Called Are You Lonesome Tonight?
Oh,
now you got to listen to this story, because this is the best yet.
Tell me.
This is a story that I've never told anyone, because it just never came up. Okay. I'm going through my book of hits. No, I'm going through my Al Jolson records, and I have a big collection of Al Jolson and Judy Garland. So I'm going through my Al Jolson, and I'm listening to this song with this recitation, Are You Lonesome Tonight? And I said, Daddy, come and listen to this thing. It's the #1 song. I call it Don Costa. We have the arrangement done. I said, I am more excited about recording this song than anything I've ever cut. We were on our way into New York. I turned the radio on. Elvis had just come back for his return song from the Army. It was a song right after he came back, and it was Are You Lonesome Tonight? On the way to the studio. How do you like that?
That is uncanny.
It was from an Al Jolson album, and he did the recitation exactly the same. In fact, I'm going to send you a copy of it. I cut it in Muscle Shoals.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. I don't ever remember him saying how he came to do that song.
Well, now, that's the story. I'm going to send you my record of Are You Lonesome Tonight?
Oh, I can't wait to hear that. Okay, we talked about If I Didn't Care, and you already explained Lipstick on Your Collar and Frankie, which was actually your first double-sided top 10 hit. But the next one, which I truly loved when it came out, Plenty Good Lovin', not loving, but lovin'.
I wrote that with Howie Greenfield.
And that was back with You're Gonna Miss Me. So what did you think about those?
I thought Plenty Good Lovin' was a lousy song, and I just put it on the other side because we published it. We made a big mistake because, see, when you were assured that one side was going to be a hit, everybody would put a B-side on the other side that they published. Because all of what they call in the business mechanicals, you can't prove that somebody goes into a record store and bought the B-side or the A-side. So the publishers and songwriters get as much money as the person who as the publishers and songwriters of the A-side, except on performances. Performances, of course, then belong to the publisher, rather to the artist and whatever. But so everybody would do that, and my father would argue with me. He'd say, "You're not a publisher. You're a singer. You've got to give the jukebox operators 2 good songs. And forget publishing. Leave the publishing to Donnie Kirshner. You are a singer." And so a couple of times that I didn't listen to him, I was wrong. And so I would then try to get 2 good sides on every record.
Lipstick on Your Collar and Frankie began a run of virtually nothing but 2-sided hits then for years.
The perfect example is Everybody's Somebody's Fool was written as a Laverne Baker type blues ballad. I knew. I knew that when I came home from Germany, before I went to away for a few months out of the country, I called Howie Greenfield and said, I've just been in Germany. It's the most unbelievable, vast, untapped marketplace for music. I said, but not the way they have very nationalistic, only German songs, but they love country music. I said, so I'm going to go away for a month, whatever it is. When I come home, are you writing with Neil? He said, no, I'm writing with Jack Keller. I said, I want you to have a country song for me, something very regimented like Heartaches by the Number.
Mm-hmm.
So now I come back, and I said, did you write that country song for me? He said, I'm watching television. We're watching the Frankenstein movie with Jack. I said, tell Jack to turn the TV off and play me the song. So they play me like a real Laverne blues type, Everybody's Somebody's Fool. I said, tell Jack to play it like Heartaches by the Number. But just like the Guy Mitchell record, Heartaches by the Number.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he played it, within a few bars, I said, that's it. I said, I'm recording it in German. He said, oh, please. I said, I'm recording it in Japanese, French, and Spanish, and Italian, too. He said, oh, Connie, good night. You know. Well, that song, there was the song that became the #1 song of the year in Europe over Radio Luxembourg, and I was the #1 artist of the year on Radio Luxembourg, and that's the first time since that ever before or since that anyone but a European won that award.
Well, it must have been a thrill also to see that one actually in the #1 position on the chart.
Yeah,
because it was the first one.
First time. I mean, Tequila. I wanted to kill Tequila, the Champs, because they kept getting in my way on Who's Sorry Now. I couldn't get to #1 because of Tequila.
Something obviously kept my happiness out because it was #2.
Right. Oh, I knew it, but I forgot it.
Yeah.
You know.
So how about Jealous of You, though? That was a very popular flip side.
Now, here's what happened with Jealous of You. So Everybody's Somebody's Fool, I know going in, is my first #1 song.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that before the recording session, and I rarely did know that. I would believe in a song, but I would never know until I got to the studio. This one, because the lyrics were so great. And because it had to be a hit, because everything like it. See, the only thing that doesn't change is country music through all the generations. Tennessee Waltz, if it were made today for the first time, would be a hit.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Bye Bye Love would be a hit. That all the pre-57 songs, because what was rhythm and blues? What was rock and roll? Rock and roll was a combination of country and black music. So that when those two giant forces combined, you got rock and roll. So every time I would, the only exception to the rule of where, well, this song is not timely, was in the country market. So, and the lyrics that Howie wrote were so incredible to everyone. So there was nobody, it was #1. So now my father throws a record on top of the table, throws it. He used to go to Melody Mike's down in the old Italian neighborhood in New York where I grew up in. And he said, hey, George, give your kid this song. So my father said, please, my kid, well, she wouldn't know what hit if she ran over it with a truck. Well, if it's an Italian song, forget about it. She won't do another Italian song. She said, no, that's enough with the Italian stuff. This is after Mama. And I'm telling her she's got to have an Italian follow-up for the jukeboxes for her next record. He said, well, this song, he said, I've been in the business 30 years now. I got to sell a dozen of these records in this song a week. It's called Jealous of You. No one had ever heard it, except down neck, the down neck, which is what they call the old neighborhood, at Melody Mike. So my father takes the record when he comes home and he says, here, throw this on the other side of that country thing you're doing.
What an interesting pairing of songs.
Well, that's why he did it. He said, you need a follow-up to Mama, and you need a song that's going to make it in all the metropolitan areas where the Italians are. And that's exactly what happened. But it was #1 in New York.